Okay, in this video, I want to show you how you can quit burning $86,000 per year on Salesforce BusyWork. If you are a tech company earning 10 million ARR and you're looking to move up to 25, 50 million ARR plus, this is going to be a problem that we solve on a daily basis for companies just like you. So I'm going to walk you through one, how we can fix it, two, how you can get this $86,000 per year back in your pocket, and then number three is a bonus, show you how you can actually save your team's time up to 16, 20 hours a week to actually go back to doing what you hired them to do. So let's get into how we would actually do this. First thing you need to understand is what you're currently doing. Over here on the left is Gmail, over here on the right is Salesforce. Gmail, you get a new lead alert that comes in. It comes into one of your inboxes. As you're familiar with, it has all this information of the lead that you need to then figure out how to pass over to the sales rep that's going to call this lead to sell the deal. Well, the problem is you don't have an automation between Gmail and your Salesforce. And so what somebody has to do is come in here manually and copy paste each one of these fields, which is kind of insane, and paste it into Salesforce over here, and then tell the sales rep that it's ready to go, and then hope that they actually call them right away so that they can sell that deal. So in this, there's multiple problems. One is just the obvious that you're copying and pasting, and this can be automated in like 2 seconds for you guys. This is way less than 30 days. Almost all these tips we go through are 30 days or less of how we can solve them. This one's like down to a day that we could do this, right? Probably hours that we could do this for your team. So this is something super quick we can solve, and the very obvious problem is just the automation. The second one is that there's typos that can happen in here that we see often. And then the third is that the time is of the essence kind of thing. If this isn't going to be like a number one priority for the person managing this, maybe the lead's already been sitting there for hours, days. Sometimes they get missed and it's weeks or months, which is even worse. So you're paying money through some kind of lead acquisition channel, Google ads, meta ads, whatever, and you paid to get this person. They came in, they're potentially qualified here, and you missed them because somebody has to come in here and copy paste it over to Salesforce and then tell the sales rep. So it's just a horrible process that you're going through. And it's also frustrating because usually in these situations, it's not like you're choosing to do this on purpose. You're doing it because you don't know how you can actually solve it. You don't know that there is a way to solve it. What we need to understand is how serious of a problem this is. I love doing this breakdown to show you the actual numbers. It's one thing when you're looking at this and saying, yeah, that does kind of suck, but you know, it is something we can kind of just deal with, and whatever, it's 5 minutes. That might be something that you're thinking in your head. And a lot of the time, honestly, that's what people tell us when we first point it out, is it's, you know, it is a problem, but whatever, it's something we just do in 2 seconds and move on. Well, when you actually run the numbers, this is where you see the pain that your company is going through by not solving this, okay? So company size, if you're a tech company around 10 million ARR, you're likely around this 50 to 100 employee mark. Okay. And you're taking on 30 to 50 new leads per week. That's on average of what we usually see working with companies like you. Time to lead. So copying everything from Gmail to Salesforce, basically being super conservative, 5 minutes. That means someone goes into that inbox, takes all the info, copies it over to Salesforce, pastes it in. And then that also includes them like notifying the sales rep via Slack or in Salesforce, you know, creating the lead, make sure it all went through correctly. It wasn't a duplicate, all that jazz. 5 minutes is pretty conservative. Sometimes that takes longer depending on the person handling this. And then your hourly rate, you know, 50 to 75 an hour probably. But then once you consider benefits, overhead, PTO, everything else, insurance that you pay for, to make that easy math, you're around $100 an hour for these people that we're going to be talking about, your sales reps essentially. Okay. So manual work frequency, this is going to be happening every day. So this is something we have to consider that they're wasting time on every single day. Your time wasted calculation, this is just basically how we're going to come up with the math to figure out how much time it wastes and then how much money it wastes for your company. So if at 50 leads per week, divided by 5 business days, you got easy math, 10 leads per day. Copying everything over, we already said 5 minutes a day. Time per rep, it's 5 minutes. So you times that by 10 leads a day, you're looking at almost an hour, 50 minutes per day. 50 minutes times 5 days, so 5 days in the week, business days, leaves you with 250 minutes This actually needs to be not day, by week. And that comes out to 4.17 hours per week. So when you do the math on that to get to the monthly, you got 4 weeks over here. That is going to be almost 17 hours a month that you guys are spending doing this process. Once we get to the money, now that we know the time, we can figure that piece out next. So $100 an hour, you take that 16, almost 17 hours that you're spending every week, times that by 100, easy math again, $1,668 per week. At that rate, times 52, which is how many weeks are in a year, you're spending that $86,000, almost $87,000 a year. So when we point that out, that makes it a lot easier to understand that this actually isn't just a, we kind of just deal with it and it's not that big of a problem. It is actually a big problem. This is $87,000 a year problem that you're spending that could be going towards so many other things, right? I could be going back to your marketing. That could be going back to a full-time hire. That could be going back to a ton of different things, which we all know is super important as you're scaling. You want to use that money as wisely as you can, not to pay somebody to copy and paste. Side note here, we've had this even worse where there's been like C-suite people that do this, where they're getting paid more than $100 an hour, where we've had one where it was the CMO that was doing it. We've had it the VP of marketing doing it. And they're getting paid a lot more than $100 an hour. And so it was a massive cost that they were calculating every single year doing this. So again, depending on who's already running this could be more or less a bigger problem. This is what you could be doing. In an ideal state, after my team steps in and solves this for our tech companies that we work with, this is what it would look like in your Gmail account, and this is what it would look like in Salesforce. So instead of getting all the information, we still typically supply that because it's nice to see in an email if you're a sales rep and just quickly look at the info to see what came through and who you're about to call. But the most important piece is this link to the lead in Salesforce. We actually just link it up because it's already in there. And all they got to do is click the hyperlink and then it brings them right to that lead and then it's going to have all the information. So the time to execution is basically zero. It's just as soon as the sales rep decides to click the link that's going to come in instantly to their inbox. And there's nobody that has to now copy and paste stuff over. So you eliminated that problem, you eliminated the typo problem, and you eliminate the other problem that we talked about, which is calling this lead basically as fast as humanly possible. So that all happens now through this one little integration, or this one little automation, I should say, that we set up between Salesforce and your website. So furthermore, why is this a big deal outside of the money as well? Something to also tap into is like potential. So if you look at this graph, right, they're spending the busy work down here and then the rest of it was selling. Yeah, it's 20 hours a week, but overall, this cuts in over the year, as you just saw. And it's hard to say the ROI on this, so I never dive into them, but it is also worth noting as a business owner that this time that they are using on busy work, like what could they potentially be doing with it? Like if you told me that I would have a sales rep basically just work for me for free for 20 hours a week, like what would I do with those 20 hours? How many deals could I get done? How much more money could I make the business? How faster could we scale, right? And all those kind of questions come into the potential side of this, which is you can't really put an ROI on it, but it's there. It's a cost that you can't figure out as easily, but it is something that is being lost. So I like to call that out as well. The fix that we're going to do for you, fairly straightforward. There's something in Salesforce called Web to Lead. And basically what you do is you go into Salesforce in a setting, you select the fields that you want to be on your form on your website when someone has an inquiry for you. And you then say, cool, let's get their first name, last name, email, company, put it on this form. Once we click save here, it basically gives us a piece of code. We give you that code, you put it on your website and embed it. And then you now have a form that's directly tied back to Salesforce. So those are those steps over here that I just walked through. Now, when they fill it out, automatically, it's just gonna push that as a lead into your Salesforce. Now, there's more ways to do this. This is the very, very simple, basic way, but there's plenty of other ways we could also do this if you require more customization. It also doesn't really up the time on how much time this would take us to set up. We still could easily do this within a day. Sometimes, like I said, even hours if you guys have all the questions that we need answered. Point is though, really straightforward that we can set this fix up for you to solve that problem. From there, here is the win that you're going to see. You basically have the 17 hours saved per month. You have that 86, almost 87 per year back in your pocket. More time to sell, more deals closed. And then this one too, cleaner data. can help you scale your business faster because you're no longer trying to second guess the reports and the dashboards that you have. You now can trust the data that's coming through because there's not typos. There's not somebody trying to make sure that whatever, the lead was in there or they made up a lead or was a duplicate lead. Like everything's just coming through naturally the way that it should. And you don't have to second guess that, which makes you able to make decisions faster inside of the business. Side note here, I just want to call out of like why I've seen